Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny Tunes. It's Destiny here. So I want to start off this video by saying, one, I am not an expert when it comes to alien or zombie stage. So if there's something that I get wrong or I don't mention or you don't like, I apologize in advance. I am someone who is just covering this because I found it to be interesting and I am not a super fan. So with all of that being said, let's carry on. I was introduced to the fantastically dark but brilliant mind of Vivanos. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. About 5 years ago, when a follower of mine recommended that I check out the video titled Suki Suki Daisuki, and honestly, I was terrified. I like to think of myself as a pretty tolerant person when it comes to scary things, but after I was once recommended a certain Vocaloid video, I was completely scarred and I really just kept away from all animated like music videos and things like that, so I had no interest in finding out more about this creator or their work, that is, until Alien Stage. I had seen little clips of Alien Stage here and there, and I was even recommended the series before, but it wouldn't be until recently that I actually gave it a proper watch. To sum it up quickly for those of you who are unaware of the series or the ones who might have forgotten, Alien Stage is the name of a twisted singing competition where you aren't singing for fame or fortune, but for the privilege of living another day. Let's go back a little bit. So from my understanding of the world of Alien Stage, Earth is first invaded by aliens from a planet unknown to the viewers, and since I'm not an Alien Stage expert, I'm not sure if the aliens abducted the humans and then returned to their home planet, or if they conduct all of their operations from Earth, but I guess that part isn't exactly important. But anyway, after the aliens arrive, humanity is enslaved and basically treated as pets or like playthings for the alien species. Throughout this series, I don't recall seeing any other adult humans other than the grown-up versions of the main cast of characters, which does leave me curious, but again, that part isn't exactly important right now. As for the children that we do see, we end up seeing them auctioned off like livestock, where their owners end up sending them to some sort of performance academy where they are trained to sing and perform for their future participation in Alien Stage. As if all of this wasn't sick and twisted already, these children develop such close and complicated relationships with each other through the process of this conditioning, meaning that no matter how deeply they care for each other, when they're put out on that stage, it's a battle for survival, and it comes down to giving it your all to secure your own survival or self-sabotaging in order to protect your loved ones. Yeah, it's a lot, right? Well, it wouldn't be called a psychological horror for nothing. I won't go into too much detail about the actual performances because based on comments and discussions that I've seen, it appears that there is a large chunk of people who went straight into zombie stage without even knowing that Alien Stage was a thing, so for their sakes, I won't be spoiling the outcomes for the rounds or other important lore, but just know that there is some stuff revolving around a revolutionary group and other terrors outside of the actual like Alien Stage event, like the human museums where we see the cast members' genetically modified versions as like children. So yeah, they are experimenting on these kids, they are taking their genetics and making clones, a human museum. The list is ongoing for like the horrible things that these aliens were doing. So the main cast from Alien Stage is also going to be starring in Zombie Stage. This is something that we saw in a flyer from the trailer, but from my understanding, the character dynamics won't be a one-to-one from the previous series, which I thought was going to be a good thing, but from what we saw from round 1 of Zombie Stage, it looks like the toxic relationships are going to be up and rampant in Zombie Stage as well. But with all that being said, I think I filled you guys in, kinda, maybe, not really, but we're going to keep it moving on. So, if you were left feeling hollow and stressed out after Alien Stage, like me, I can bring you a little bit of comfort by sharing the fact that Zombie Stage isn't technically real. In fact, it's just a story based on a zombie movie that the main cast is watching in an alternate universe where everyone is alive and seemingly okay from what we've seen so far, so that's a plus. But anyway, the events of Zombie Stage take place in a post-apocalyptic world after a zombie outbreak that seems to like crystallize either the blood or body parts of an infected individual. But before we talk about this any further, I do want to go back a little bit and and talk about Mizi and Sua before the outbreak happened. Also, if it's not pronounced Mizi, I'm so sorry, don't come after me. So immediately after graduating high school, Mizi is ready to jump into the world of stardom by auditioning to be a K-pop idol. Now, I do want to say that I'm not well versed in the world of K-pop or anything like that, but from what I've seen online, it appears to be a very cutthroat industry that can be extremely demanding both mentally and physically. I think this can apply to the entertainment industry as a whole, but after seeing that there is literal K-pop boot camps, insane by the way, not only does it remind me a lot of Alien Stage, but it opens my eyes to just how corrupt all of this really is. From the outside, fame can seem so enticing, but we find out from this video that things aren't always as good as they're cracked out to be. During their auditions, we see that Mizi is accepted and unfortunately Sua isn't, but honestly, it didn't really seem like her heart was in it anyway. This felt like something that Sua was doing to remain close to Mizi, and we slowly see how the life of being idolized starts to wear down not only on their relationship, but also on Mizi as a whole. It genuinely felt like Mizi just wanted to be able to sing and dance on a big stage, you know, just have fun. But then the singing and dancing turned into other things like ad campaigns where she's overly sexualized and visually she just doesn't seem to be present anymore, much like a zombie. A character who was once bubbly and bright became distant, developing new habits like smoking, and not to mention she was now cold-hearted, slapping Sua, which is something that caught me completely off guard. But at this moment, I had a feeling that there was something going on, something deeper that triggered this, because the breakdown afterward, yeah, it definitely stemmed from something, and I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the scene with the rat in the beginning of this video. I just don't know how to interpret it exactly, so if you know, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. But anyway, I was really happy that we got more of Sua this time around because she felt like a tool in supporting Mizi's story more than her own character in Alien Stage. I will say though, and don't come for me, but I'm not a big fan of Sua as a person, but I am interested in seeing what they do with her character moving forward. I see myself in certain parts of Sua's character, like the all-for-nothing attitude that she has toward Mizi and the extreme unhealthy obsession that she has. Like, I've been there before, and no one really warns you about the dopamine rush that you get from being stuck in a constant unhealthy cycle of highs and lows. Like, Sua obviously has an unhealthy attachment style, which leads her to do some really messed up things, like kissing a bound and infected Mizi without consent. That entire scene, it felt really gross, I'm not gonna lie. Some people are just like, well, she's infected, she's brain dead, she doesn't know what's happening. But it doesn't matter, it's the implications. Not to mention that she also ends up getting infected in the process of doing this. Like, the dedication of being together isn't as cute as people are trying to make it seem. It's actually rather insane if you think about it. Like, I found it interesting how they portrayed the relationship between these two characters in Zombie Stage compared to Alien Stage, where, to me at least, it seemed as if the romantic connection between the two characters was a mutual thing, versus here, where there is an obvious, like, close bond, but the scale is heavily tilted towards Sua when it comes to who is more romantically invested in Zombie Stage. As I mentioned before, the relationships in Alien Stage were basically all toxic. Like, basically all of them, with the exception of Mizi and Sua, maybe. I only say maybe because there are things like the comics and the art books that give out more information about these characters and their situation that I just don't know of, but from what I remember from Alien Stage itself, their relationship didn't seem as toxic as some of the other ones. I do want to say though is that I love how this series is created with the purpose of critiquing all of the corruption around us, like the music industry, unhealthy relationships, oppression, and a fan base playing right into the hand of everything previously listed. The fans of this series see the way that these characters treat themselves and each other, and yet instead of calling out this negative behavior, which gets people attacked by the way, it's completely ignored altogether for the sake of personal satisfaction that comes from shipping these characters together. And it's like, no. Why are we shipping these people together? They are literally not good for each other at all. Like, the amount of people defending the predatory acts of the characters within the series is extremely concerning, especially because things like this translate back into the real world. Is it the entire fan base? No, but it is a large portion of the fan base, and it's just not okay. Like, it is okay to sympathize for the situation that these characters are faced with, and it is okay to understand why these characters are the way that they are, but it's not okay to place praise on a topic that this creator is trying so hard to help people understand. Assault, obsession, consent, predatory behaviors, these are all things that we should recognize as detrimental and not something to see as affectionate or romantic. With there being such a large portion of this fanbase that are youngsters, it's stressful seeing the lessons Viva knows is trying to convey through these videos being misconstrued. Anyway, we are getting way off track. Let's get back on track. Now that the girls are both infected, we find out about a dark underground situation where infected people are being used for humans' amusement. I'm not exactly sure how they're gathering up these infected people or getting them to perform, considering the fact that they're supposed to be zombies. In the trailer, they did mention the fact that the infected people aren't either dead or living, which does make things even more confusing. Are they capable of feeling pain, dying? Are they violent? Are they not violent? Hopefully more of this will be explained in other episodes because I'm genuinely confused. But in this underground world, humans who have been infected are auctioned off, much like what we saw in Alien Stage, seeming to cost less the more infected they are. I'm sure someone probably paid top dollar for an infected version of Mizi, who was once a popular performer. There are a lot of similarities between Alien and Zombie Stage, but one of the big differences is the fact that losing in a round of Zombie Stage doesn't mean automatic death like in Alien Stage. Instead, the losing singer must have a part of their body butchered off, and then it is auctioned off, advertised as like a gift or something. Yeah, sick and twisted. The idea of the entertainment industry constantly leaving their clients feeling like they're losing parts of themselves in the name of fame and fortune isn't unheard of. I feel like it's always the audiences who start to pick up on these things first. You know, you start to see the magic in your favorite artist's eyes fade, or it just feels like their heart isn't in it anymore. Aside from this being a really great horror element, these kinds of scenes feel like a great way of showing us the viewers what this industry can really do to people. Now, when it comes to the actual performance itself, it felt so much more haunting than Alien Stage because the crowd wasn't filled with aliens, but rather humans. And unfortunately, we all know how much humans love being entertained by the exploitations of others in vulnerable situations. Seeing the humans in the crowd makes me relate all of this to the real world, and honestly, that kinda scares me. The amount of older men in the crowd plays so true to the fact that when it comes to artists who present more in a childlike manner, you're gonna see them. And even the chants throughout the song are from the male audience, and it's so grody. Up on the stage, Mizi and Sua are battling it out just like in Alien Stage, but instead of the beautifully emotional ballad that we heard that time around, we're presented with a more energized, upbeat song that I associate more with the K-pop genre. It's here where we start to see the differences between Sua and Mizi as performers. Mizi, although clumsy, is basically a star performer. She has amazing stage presence, knowing the exact mannerisms and vocal switches to do in order to keep that audience engaged with her performance. What's interesting to me is the fact that when we see Mizi pre-infection, she doesn't even seem to have the same aesthetic that she has while performing in the underground. From the pigtails, the dress, and the all-pink wardrobe, whoever is behind all of this knows exactly how to cater to the audience of sickos who would even want to watch something like this. Now, Sua, on the other hand, is definitely more reserved compared to Mizi. As I stated before, she's definitely giving off the vibe that she's just doing this to be close to Mizi, and that she doesn't really feel like a performer or someone who ever wanted to be a performer. Even when it comes to her attire, she's so different compared to Mizi. Her dress isn't as dramatic, and her hair is done very neatly and covered up by something like a bandana. Everything down to their vocals are so different, with Mizi having a more powerful voice where Sua has a softer one. I will say that their voices definitely do complement each other, but it was obvious that Mizi was going to be leaving with a W just by seeing how well the crowd responds to her in general, probably combined with her previous status, I'm sure. So in the middle of the performance, there was a scene that honestly was so confusing to me. There is a vocal break, and then two men who are dressed like butchers appear, and a wheel of death is brought on stage. Okay, some of you might be thinking, well, this is a circus, a carnival, you typically see these sort of things there. Okay, but why are we doing that in the middle of a singing competition? The fact that this was even incorporated into the performance is so disturbing to me. Like, with one of the butchers dry humping the wheel before Mizi is restrained and used as target practice, I guarantee that there were more than one person in that crowd who was gooning over watching something like this. Like, there is almost a fetish for everything, and I know that sometimes you have to respect the things that people are into, but when it crosses the line into something like this, I'm sorry, it's disturbing. But anyway, shortly after this, the performance, battle, whatever you want to call it, is concluded and Mizi is the winner. It's after this that I feel a little more heartbroken, because as Sua is being taken off stage, we see Mizi standing there on the stage completely still. She's just standing there like a toy that has been shut off. Now, I don't know if she's permitted from like reacting, or if it's the infection in her brain that's preventing her from like even being aware of what's going on, but I feel like if she were in her right mind, she would be completely devastated about what is going to be happening to Sua. Like, when Sua holds her hand, she isn't even aware, she doesn't react, there's no sort of like reflex there. It's honestly really, really sad. I've seen people say that her not reacting in this moment is due to the fact that she's blind and she can't really see what's going to be happening to Sua, and the thing is that I do agree with that to an extent, with the addition of her just like not knowing what's going on in general. Now the thing is, personally, I feel like she does eventually understand what's going on in that moment, but it isn't until she hears the cleaver actually hit Sua's arm, which is why we are brought back to the scene with the rat that she clobbered in the beginning of the video with the rock. The more and more you watch this video, the darker it gets, because there's something so painfully haunting about Sua laying across that table, knowing that she's going to be mutilated, but watching Mizi sing to her with a smile on her face. Like I said before, I don't really like her as a person, but I still sympathize with the situation that she's in, and I genuinely feel sad and afraid and bad for what she's going to be going through and what they're all going through. Like, you cannot like someone but still feel bad for the situation that they're in, and that's exactly how I feel about Sua. It's just heartbreaking, y'all. I mentioned this earlier, and I'm really hoping for their sakes that infected humans don't feel pain the same way that, you know, regular humans do, because I can't even imagine having my arm completely butchered off without any sedatives. Like, this is... I'm just glad we didn't have to hear screams or anything like that, because I would have completely lost it. This scene is so heartbreaking, even without seeing the actual butchering. But to add to all of that, the fact that her arm is going to be cleaned up and then put on the market as a gift set is truly the evil cherry on top. If I thought that Alien Stage was going to be rough, I'm really afraid of what's in store for Zombie Stage, because organ harvesting wasn't something that I was ever expecting, but then again, it's Vivanos. But to go off topic a little bit, much like Alien Stage, we are definitely going to be getting some sort of like activist situation with Hyuna, who is going to be infiltrating Zombie Stage in order to gather the necessary like evidence to bring the place down for good. Seeing that all of her friends are on the lineup for this event has to be like extremely devastating for her on a completely other level. Like, I can't even imagine. We see her like almost cool, calm, and collective about achieving this mission until we see her actually face with the reality of what's going on here. It's one thing to hear about what's going on versus seeing the atrocities firsthand, especially when it involves the people that you know and care about. The video then ends with the reveal of Ivan, who is chained up, whistling along with the nursery rhyme that Mizi is singing to Suna, and I know that the crowd was going wild. Let me know. How did you react to seeing that it was Ivan? I was really hoping that it was going to be Till, but I was still like, okay, we're getting Ivan, but let me know. How did you react? And be honest. If you were happy, Be honest. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Ivan, but again, just like Sua, I am interested to see what they do with his character, and I'm also interested in seeing the differences, if any, that we'll see with his character versus what we had like in Alien Stage. Maybe, just maybe, he might be redeemable in my eyes. But as I mentioned before, I'm most excited to see Till, considering the fact that he is my favorite character and performer from Alien Stage, seeing as I am a big fan of like alternative music, and he's definitely giving off that alternative vibe, and his songs are my favorite. But I'm also not prepared for the heartbreak that's gonna come from seeing another one of these characters being butchered, because it's gonna happen no matter if I like them or not. Unfortunately, I just don't want to see this happen to these characters because it's really sad, and I'm happy that it's happening in an alternate universe, but still, why did the characters have to be them? Because it's like, they already went through so much in Alien Stage. But with all that being said, I'm excited to see what's in store for this series and to be emotionally distraught when it's done, because it's gonna happen. I've said it once and I'll say it 1,000 more times. The world of animation here on YouTube truly does provide us with so many different gifts, and for free at that. So the least that we can do as viewers is to continue to engage in conversations about the art that we're given and continue to share it in as many ways as possible. If you are a fan of Zombie Stage or Alien Stage, let me know down in the comments who are you most excited to see, and what do you think will be the outcome of this series. Will it be similar to Alien Stage? Will it be a twist and something completely new will happen? Who knows? But I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you never miss a video in the future. Alrighty, have a good one. Bye!